I ask the question all the time why Stephen A. Smith has so much hatred towards Kawhi Leonard. I really don't get it. I never really understood it. I never really figured out why have hatred towards a guy who's already proven himself, I understand last year in the bubble, the game 7, all that stuff, but really don't waste your time talking about last year because what happened last year in the bubble was not only Kawhi Leonard, it was the team. The team wasn't playing right. The team wasn't fully focused and they were too overconfident. And that's what happens. And, for one thing, a lot of people don't talk about, I mean, most super teams or teams put together where you think they're a powerhouse type team or anything like that, they always lose the first year. They always lose the first year. Or maybe not always, but for the most part, there's been times where they have lost the first year. I mean, for one example specifically, the Miami Heat. When LeBron James was with D Wade and Chris Bosh and himself on the Miami Heat, the first year they were assembled, what happened? They went to the NBA Finals. They went against Dallas. They were up 2-1 on Dallas. Dallas, one of those games was down by 15 with 5 minutes ago, and Miami choked. They choked the game away. And games, 4, 5, and 6, LeBron James shrank under pressure in the NBA Finals. And Dirk Nowitzki and the Dallas Mavericks beat them when Miami was up 2-1 and had the series in hand. And they had a big three. Dirk Nowitzki's only one superstar. So I don't want to hear that things like that can't happen. Because if you ask me, that's an implosion. You have D Wade, Chris Bosh, and LeBron James, and you can't beat Dirk Nowitzki by himself. This is what I'm talking about. This is my point. Things like that happen. And Stephen A. Smith walks around here acting like Kawhi this, Kawhi this, Kawhi that, Kawhi that. Why don't you just get up off the man, really? Because the man's already proven himself. He always sits around and say that Kawhi has the most to prove and, all this other stuff. Kawhi doesn't have the most to prove to any damn body. The man won 2 championships and 2 finals MVPs. What the hell else do he got to prove? The only person that has something to prove on that team is Paul George. Paul George has been known to be lackluster in the playoffs. Paul George has been known to be the one that comes up short in the playoffs. Paul George is the one that gave himself the nickname Playoff P and never lived up to it. At least not so far. Maybe this year be different. But I just don't understand how does a 2-time finals MVP have to prove anything to anybody, especially to some guy that sits behind a desk and runs his mouth all the time, but definitely ain't about that life. Because when Allen Iverson checked you, Stephen A. Smith, a long time ago, you ain't do nothing. You threw your hands up. You were scared. So I don't want to hear you have all these raw emotions towards Kawhi Leonard. What did Kawhi Leonard ever do to him? I don't understand Stephen A. Smith. Stephen A. Smith is just this is why I say I don't even watch First Take. I mean, I see clips of it here and there. You hear memes, certain type things like that. And if it's an important topic, maybe I'll get a little snippet of it just to see what was being said. Because honestly, like Max Kellerman, he talks off the wall, out of his, he talks crazy half the time anyway. Nobody really understands him too much, or his logic. And, Stephen A. Smith is just really been down or downgraded in his career since Skip Bayless left him. And everybody knows that. Skip Bayless was a big part of ESPN. When they lost Skip Bayless, I really thought ESPN lost a lot of fan base, and I feel like Stephen A. Smith, his career has went down to me since, you know, Skip Bayless has left. But that's just my opinion. I never been a big Stephen A. Smith fan anyway. Never really have. Because I just never, I just never took to the guy like that. But the way he hates on Kawhi Leonard, it's just, it's just unjust. The man never did anything to you. You don't know him. I mean, maybe Stephen A. Smith is mad at Kawhi Leonard because Kawhi don't want to do an interview with him. I have no idea. But really, it's no reason for it because, the man's already proven himself. I mean, the man came in the league in like 2011 or 12, and his second year in the league, he actually helped lead the Spurs to another championship because the big three couldn't do it. They were too old on the Spurs, so they gave it to Kawhi. And Kawhi went out there and delivered a championship against LeBron James and the Miami Heat, the big three, once again. So my thing is, Kawhi already proved that he was a stud type player then. Then he goes to Toronto and win a championship when nobody picked Toronto to even go to the finals. A lot of people saying, "Oh, well, Kevin Durant wasn't there." That doesn't matter. Did you even pick Toronto to make it to the finals? To play against the Warriors and Kevin Durant potentially? No, you didn't. Everybody had At that time, everybody had the Bucks and Giannis going to the finals because Giannis looked so dominant. But when they put the claw on Giannis, he didn't look so dominant. He looked human. He looked a little bit above average. And that's my point. When you have things like that happen, people don't acknowledge the greatness of Kawhi Leonard and what he did in that series. But that's okay. He still went to the finals and he won it against Toronto. And everybody acts like that's an afterthought. First of all, it takes a lot to win a championship. Because if it was so easy, everybody would do it. And that's what Stephen A. Smith needs to understand. This man doesn't have nothing to prove. If Kawhi Leonard stopped playing basketball today, he would be in the Hall of Fame. So that tells you he has nothing to prove. Kawhi is just trying to add to his legacy. But his legacy was already cemented with that Toronto championship. You took a team from another country, a country that's mainly known for hockey more than basketball, and you delivered a championship. I mean, Kawhi is basically a god out there. I mean, but that's the problem. When anytime somebody compares a player to another player, like LeBron, just because he got compared to LeBron and the Kawhi Town thing and all that stuff that Stephen A. talks about, first of all, the man is from LA. He was born there. He's supposed to put Kawhi Town in the commercial. What, he's supposed to put Clipper Town? You can't put Clipper Town because the Clippers have always been the little brother to the Lakers. So you can't put Clipper Town in the commercial. The commercial is about Kawhi Leonard. So you have to put Kawhi Town there because he's the guy and he's the guy that's going to be there for a while, even when LeBron is gone. So it only makes sense. And the fact that he's from there, it only makes sense he put that in his commercials. It only makes sense. So I don't know what Stephen A. Smith is talking about. Stephen A. Smith, like I said, I don't personally like the guy. I don't really think much of him. I haven't thought much of him like, pretty much ever. I've always liked Skip Bayless on ESPN First Take when he used to be there. And me personally, I watch Undisputed with Skip and Shannon. I don't even really watch ESPN First Take at all. They may have a take here and there that I'll look at because Kendrick Perkins is on there. And I like Kendrick Perkins. I like to hear what he has to say. And like I said, Max Kellerman's all over the place, so who knows what he's talking about. But you know, Stephen A. Smith annoys me, and he always will. But this topic here against Kawhi Leonard and this hatred towards Kawhi Leonard, I just don't understand it, and I just don't understand where all the hatred is coming from. I mean, the man doesn't even talk. The man doesn't do anything. He doesn't do anything wrong. He plays the game the right way. He plays the game to his specification, how he plays. I don't get it. I don't get it. But that's just my opinion. That's just how I see it. But to me, Kawhi has nothing to prove. PG has a lot to prove. And, a couple days ago, you know, um, Candace Parker was on TNT with Shaq and D Wade and them on there talking about Kawhi was if he didn't hit that one shot, would we be talking about him like that? First of all, Candace Parker, just to check her, you're a WNBA player. You were good at what you did, but you don't apparently know anything about Kawhi Leonard's career because what Kawhi Leonard has already accomplished in his career, you didn't accomplish in yours. You'll never be looked at in the light as a Kawhi Leonard type player. In your WNBA career, you were good. You were really good. But at the same time, there there's levels to this. And what Kawhi has accomplished is not just one shot that bounced around the rim against Philadelphia. It's no need to hate on Kawhi Leonard. Kawhi Leonard was a two-time defensive player of the year. Kawhi Leonard already had won a championship with the Spurs in his second year in the NBA. So, Candace Parker, you can keep your hate because you're just a fill-in. That's all you are. Because when I look on TNT, I really expect to see Kenny the Jet Smith sitting in your chair, not you. And if your analysis of the game is from that standpoint, well, why don't you go find a job doing something else? Why don't you go be an analyst for a WNBA game, not the NBA? Because if you're gonna sound that stupid, well, get off the set and go do something else with your life. Because NBA basketball is not something you know anything about, apparently. Because nobody on that set said something that's stupid except you. And quite honestly, I hope I don't never see you on TNT again. You're not that pretty anyway, first of all. But that's another story for another topic, another day. But like I said, just squash the hatred against Kawhi Leonard, Stephen A. Smith, because you're wasting your time. And I really hope, Kawhi Leonard and the Clippers, prove this man wrong because he's just ranting, going on about things that doesn't really matter. And the guy's already proven himself. And there's nothing else Kawhi needs to do except add to his legacy. And people like Stephen A. Smith, I mean, really, you're just a mad old man with a messed up hairline, and maybe you're just mad because you never made it to the league. But but I never hear Stephen A. Smith talk about players like James Harden, never won a championship, never been to a finals. I never hear him talk about players like Chris Paul, never won a championship, never been to a finals. You don't talk about players like that. What about the pressure they have on them? I mean, Chris Paul, he's been in the league for over 10 plus years, never been there. James Harden been in the league a while. You don't ever talk about these type players though. You don't never really, you know, say anything about these players like they have pressure to show people who they are. Why don't they have any pressure? How does a guy have pressure to redeem himself when he's a top two, top three player and he's been that for a while and he just won a championship a couple years ago and led a team to a championship? Come on, man. But that's my take on it. Hey, leave any comments in the comment section. Let me know what you think. And